Coach Law Sports, player of the game. Started it a couple of years ago, came up with the idea and thought it'd be kind of neat, something different for the kids. And we started out with t-shirts. Everybody does t-shirts, so I wanted to come up with something a little bit different. So this summer we kind of played around a little bit. I got myself a 3D printer and started coming up with some ideas and come up with took a simple JPEG program and picture and run it through a couple programs, and out pops these 3D parts and melts the metal, and lo and behold, you come up with a coin. So hope you enjoy the video. We're going to start here with our pieces that were printed off our 3D printer that we have. As you can see, just a simple logo we took a JPEG of and ran it through some software and come up with both sides of the coin. Actually, what we do is we start with face up. We'll put the 3 coins in, and then we're going to cover them with baby powder. Basically, this keeps the sand from hopefully sticking to them anyways. We're going to run this in pretty fast motion because this is quite a lengthy process to get this all done. Probably looking at about 2 hours or so to do 6 coins, usually what I do at a time. I've got a couple boxes like this. But we're hammering the sand, we're packing the sand. It's an oil base, it's called Petrobond. This is some stuff that I had bought off the internet, and pretty good stuff. Very fine, get some fine detail with it. But it is an oil base, so it gets a little bit dirty sometimes. So after we get the one side all packed down, we head over to the second side. We just flip it over, clean off the parts a little bit. Get the top, the cope ready, they call it. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the pieces together, the top and the bottom. Tried it a few different ways, and this just seems to work the best. Basically what it's doing is just keeping the coins from shifting when we're packing them in. Now these little sticks that I'm putting in, that's where we're going to pour the metal down in, and we want it to flow across the coin and then come back up on the other side. So put the baby powder back in again, and we want some a little bit finer detail, so that's why we used a strainer for the first part of it. And this takes a little bit of time because you got to pack everything in and you got to pack them around these sticks, and you want them to go straight up and down. So like I said, it's a time consuming process, but when you get done, it sure is a lot of enjoyment at the end if everything works out. So we just try to get this up about as level as we can. In a minute here, you're going to see we're going to dig some holes. That's where we're going to pour the metal in. I'm not real accurate at it. So we want to have a little bit bigger whole basin so we can pour the metal in. So all we're doing is we're pulling the sticks out. We're going to clean the holes out a little bit. We're going to take the 2 sides of the boxes apart here, and you'll see this is the point where if you did everything right and everything pays off, why you should have a hole a little bit. You can see the coins in the top there, and then on the bottom I'm just cleaning out the holes so we can get the metal to flow all the way across. And so we're just tapping on them to loosen up the sand a little bit so we can get them pulled out of there. Sometimes they come with some extra sand in them, especially with these fine details on some of these logos that we use. But we get it all cleaned out. We're going to put the top back on it again, and we'll put a couple screws in to make sure that it doesn't move. Of course, I've had them come apart before, so added the screws just for a little bit of security there. Now we're going to weigh everything out. I used a 90-10 mixture, 90% copper, 10% aluminum. If you get a little bit too much aluminum in there, then it's going to become brittle and it breaks and stuff. So I had this pre-measured out for us, so just to save on a little bit of time. But it's a 90-10 mixture. So this is the little furnace that I have. There's a crucible in there. As you can see, I got the copper in there. We heat up the copper. It's got to be a little bit over 2,000 degrees, and we get the copper melting. And once the copper is melted, then we're going to add in the aluminum, stir it up a little bit. And as you can see, we're at about 2,200 degrees now, so we're getting pretty close. So then we're going to head back inside, and as you can see, it's a little bit warm. And when you're using an oil base like we do with this Petrobond, it's going to get a little bit smoky. But as you see, as we can pour it in, it's going to come through and then come back out the vent holes there. So I do have a fan over top. It gets a little warm sometimes. As you can see, my crucible has been a little bit worn. I ended up with a crack after this pour, actually, so I don't use that one anymore. But we'll just get them all poured, and then take them apart. Now this is where the smoke comes in, because when you add the oxygen in, things are going to get a little bit hot, and so it all starts smoking. But like I said, I got an exhaust fan in the house. I like to do it outside, of course, in the spring and in the fall. But we're just going to pull the pieces out. We'll put them into a little bit of water and cool them off, and we'll show you what they look like when they come out of the water. And we have 6 of them here, like I said, that we did. And there you can see the product as it comes out. Now, not all 6 of them turned out. We had one that didn't quite get mixed up well, and that one actually broke on me right away. That was the first one that you saw there. So I just pulled 2 of them out. This is what they're going to look like before we start any cleaning on them or anything. These 2 turned out pretty well. So we'll put them in the vise and take an angle grinder with a little cutting wheel on it and cut the edges off. The first ones we did were round, and that was really kind of tough, so that's why I went to the octagon shaped. It was a little bit easier, and we cut all the extra pieces off, and we'll put a sander on there, and we'll start sanding them down a little bit, just sanding the edges off and any highlights that we have, and we'll get them both done. After I get done with this, I take them over to a drill press where I have a sander on there, a wire brush on there actually, and then I brush them off, so that's how they get a little bit shiny. But this is what you're looking at when we get done. A couple tigers there, nothing too special, but you can see the process that we go through to make these things, and some days they work out, some days they don't. But for every one that works out, you have 1 or 2 that doesn't. So put a little bit of time into it, but I sure do enjoy it, and I hope you do too.